Good morning, Reese Eagles. Welcome to the Principal's Corner. And I have a new book for us today. This book, as you know, we like to celebrate diversity and different cultures, but sometimes I bring in a book that has to do with supporting each other. So this particular book is called Sammy versus the Negative Voice. And so this book was sent to me by the author, Sammy Kadir, and he wanted me to be able to share this with you, so I decided to share it with you. It is a book to help support students who have that negative voice inside. Sometimes you say, I can't, or I don't know how, and you give up. And this book will help support making change because that's something you need to change to be able to grow. So let's see what happens in Sammy versus the negative voice. And it says, from the author to David Reese Elementary, you got this. And I agree with him. Thank you for the donation. And this will be in the school library. Oh, the dedication page. This book is dedicated to my children, Christian, Charlotte, Eleanor, and William, who inspire me every day, and to my wife, Megan, who has told me, you got this from day one. Now remember, this book is called Sammy versus the Negative Voice, and the book is by Sammy Kadir, or Kader. So this is probably him as a kid. He's all grown up now, has a family of his own, and remember, he got this. Well, you got this. Here we go. Sammy was 8. He was starting grade 2. The other kids had friends, and he wanted some too. So he just started second grade. He didn't know anyone, it sounds like. But Sammy felt different from the kids in his grade, and he became sad at the jokes that some made. So we already know that if you're making a joke at someone else's expense, that's not a great thing. If they're not laughing too, then that means you're just probably being mean, and that's not okay. At recess, he would watch as all the kids played, but Sammy wasn't invited, so alone he stayed. Sammy's teacher decided one day in the fall that today they would play a game of kickball. When it came to sports, kids were pretty mean. They didn't want to have Sammy on their team. So that's hurtful. And stop for a second and think how you would feel if you were Sammy. As you can see, it's pretty sad. Young Sammy was determined to show everyone he knew that he could play sports too. Oh, that he could play sports and he could be good at them too. The pitcher geared up. The ball flew off the mound, but Sammy's kick missed and he fell on the ground. Poor Sammy. So they looked worried for him, but then they changed. Not so nice, huh? Laughter burst out. That was awful, they said. The kids pointed and giggled as Sammy turned red. Now, what would you do? Would you laugh too, or would you help him off the ground? And if that were you on the ground, would you want someone laughing at you? How would you feel? Sammy came home upset with his heart bruised and torn, and that was the day the negative voice was born. The kids had all laughed. They had been so unkind. But worse than that now were the thoughts in his mind. I'm awful. I'm terrible. I should never have tried. I can't do anything, he said as he cried. Poor Sammy. From that day on, it stuck like glue. Wherever Sammy went, the negative voice did too. And it's getting bigger and bigger. It followed him through grades 3, 4, and 5. Sammy couldn't lose that voice no matter how hard he tried. So other kids are happy, but Sammy feels pretty negative because of all that started back in second grade. It was there during tests. You can't do this, it said. It was so hard to think with the negative voice in his head. It was there during recess as all the kids played, saying, "You'll never have friends like those other kids made." So at this point, he is not even trying because the negative voice in his head is telling him he'll never have friends. And that's just not true. So Sammy went home and just sat on his couch. The negative voice made him lonely and kind of a grouch. His sister couldn't help. She didn't know what to do. So she told her friend Ronnie, hoping maybe he knew. So he's not trying anymore. And the negative voice is still growing. When Ronnie showed up, young Sammy complained. He just wanted to hide and not deal with the pain. So Ronnie's going to come and talk to him. Ronnie thought to himself, I have no other choice. I must help Sammy stop that negative voice. Ronnie told Sammy, it doesn't matter what they say, it's what you think of you. So make that voice go away. So Sammy tried thinking about positive words, but since he didn't believe them, the negative voice he still heard. Ronnie scratched his head. He'd have to try harder. That negative voice was tough, but Ronnie was smarter. So you know that the negative voice is what he thinks about himself. It's not actually there behind him. It's what he's thinking about himself. Let's try something else now. Repeat after me. I got this, he shouted. Just say it. You'll see. I got this, Sammy said as he tried to repeat it. No, not like that, Ronnie said. You have to believe it. So Sammy took a deep breath and closed both his eyes. I got this, he yelled, much to Ronnie's surprise. Oh, the negative voice didn't like that. That's it, Ronnie cheered. You got this, he repeated, but he knew Sammy's battle was not yet completed. Sammy went back to school the very next day and he tried not to think the negative way. I can do this. I got this, he made himself say. I'll never give up. I am awesome today. And he continued. And as he continued, the negative voice got smaller. So remember how the negative voice was super big, very big at first. Like, look at this. So now he's starting to get, where'd it go? Smaller. And as he continued, the negative voice got smaller. When Sammy entered his class, he was walking a little taller. The kids all noticed something seemed out of place. Sammy looked happy. He had a smile on his face, and Sammy's thoughts turned positive, and his confidence grew. He began to like himself, and the other kids did too. So, what matters is that he likes himself. When Sammy would hear the voice say, Don't try it, he'd say his positive words, and the negative voice would be quiet. He'd say, I got this. No longer was Sammy sad and blue every day. When he thought positive things, the negative voice went away. Look at the negative voice, how small it is now. And now it's gone away. Sammy took what he learned from the battle he went through, and he hopes that these words can help someone like you. So don't let the negative voice come from you or another. Speak positive words to yourself, friends, and others. And when you meet people with nothing positive to say, tell them, you got this, and brighten their day. You, and Sammy's pointing at you, you got this. So about the negative voice. The negative voice is not an actual monster. The negative voice represents the words we say or think to ourselves that prevent us from being able to try new things or feel confident in ourselves. Some examples of the negative voice are I can't do it, I'm not good enough, or I should just give up. That's negative talk. Sammy's tips. When we hear the negative voice from other people, the worst thing we can do is to start to believe it. If you hear negativity, just remind yourself that those words aren't true. Practice telling yourself positive things every day, like, I can do this, I've got this, and I'll never give up. Sometimes the negative voice becomes so big in our minds that we wind up passing it along by saying negative things to other people. Not only do we need to make sure we tell ourselves positive words, we also need to use positive words when speaking to others. So I have this to say. You got this, David Reese Elementary. Make sure you come back to the Principal's Corner for more books in the future. We are Reese. Have a great day.